Hi, everyone. My name's Terry Olenek. Really happy to have Tui with me here from Procore. And today we're going to mix it up a bit. Instead of myself doing an interview, we're going to hand the reins over to Riggs and allow him to ask all the questions till his heart's content. So I'm going to hand it over to you, Riggs. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks, Terry. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for letting me jump in the middle of this super interesting conversation. I think there's a couple of reasons why I think it's so cool to be able to do this. One, I personally am a big fan of ULI, have been for a very long time. I think it's one of the more powerful trade organizations globally, with some of the biggest owners, operators, developers, alongside the biggest builders, tech companies, architects, and really having everyone come together in that sort of collaborative platform is really compelling. I think has been a inspiration for me, and in a way is something that I think Procore and Multiplex are sort of bringing to the built world. So it's pretty neat to be here. And the second thing that I'm really excited about is Tui, who's the founder and CEO of Procore, and you, Terry, as the president and leader of Multiplex in Canada, are both such esteemed leaders in your own space and come at the problem or opportunity of digitizing and innovating around construction in the built world in very similar yet very distinct ways. And I just thought it would be so cool to have the listeners hear from both of you on similar questions, and then be able to have a conversation around, your each individual lens on that. So very excited to be here. And just quick background on me, I've started in the commercial real estate world at a company called Tishman Speyer. I founded a company called Honest Buildings in New York City, which was early-ish relative to TUI, which we'll hear about, construction technology and sort of early PropTech company. And we merged together with TUI and Procore about 15, 16 months ago, which has been an awesome experience. And Terry and I have gotten to get to know each other over the course of the last couple of years, and I just have a ton of respect and admiration for what you're building. So just thought it'd be so cool to bring all those pieces together and be able to help push the conversation along. So without further ado, maybe I'll just give a quick bio of Tui, quick bio of Terry, just in case anyone doesn't know, and then we'll jump into the questions. Sound good, fellas?
Sounds great.
Good. Okay, so Tui is the founder and CEO of Procore. For anyone who doesn't know Procore, it's one of the, if not the leading construction technology companies in the world. It's headquartered in Carpinteria, California, which is a beautiful location if anyone hasn't been. Tui founded the company in 2002, and fast forward to today, there's over 2,000 employees operating in 14 offices around the world. There's been over 1 million construction projects that have run on Procore. There's 1.3 million users that rely on Procore every day, and I think we just passed $1 trillion in construction volume that has run on Procore, which is still to this day, I think, pretty staggering in my mind. Tui himself is not only an incredible leader, because I have a chance to work with him, but Forbes also called him one of the cloud technology's hottest CEOs by creating a unicorn technology company revolving around construction. I think it's pretty amazing what Tui's been able to do, and he's very passionate about connecting everyone in construction on a global platform, and never wants to stop sort of helping to provide the construction industry with technology to make their lives easier, safer, and more productive. And Terry is the president and managing director of Multiplex in Canada, in Toronto. And Terry is responsible for executing basically the business to create value, realize innovative solutions, and drive precision across the scaling of this solution in Canada. Terry has more than 25 years in the construction industry, based in Toronto, but really sort of all over the world at this point. And he shares an entrepreneurial passion for delivering and developing products and people. And I think that is really continued to drive the evolution of construction as it's changed over the course of the last years. And I think that's my experience with you, Terry. You've taken a completely innovative approach to an industry who's really been doing the same thing for a long time, but really starting to think about the world through technology lens, through sustainability lens. I know you're LEED accredited, and you're on the board of the Toronto Green Building Council, in addition to being on the board of the ULI membership committee in Toronto. It's pretty amazing the advancements that you've seen in over the course of the last 25 years, but also what I'm interested in is like the last 5 or 6 years and just how fast technology is sort of driving that. So you have Tui leading one of the global technology companies. You have Terry leading one of the global construction companies, both sort of at the helm, coming together in this intersection of construction, the built world, and technology and innovation. Hopefully that sets the stage for this conversation today. Thank you guys for letting me moderate.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here.
Yeah. So to start off, let's have an open-ended question, but I'm interested to hear from both of you what you think the most groundbreaking advancement is in the AEC or architecture, engineering, construction industry, in your opinion, but really at any time period. It doesn't have to be a year ago or 50 years ago. Just what do you think has really changed our industry for the better?
Well, why don't I'll jump in, and then I'm really interested to hear what Terry has to say. But I think what really changed the industry the most is the ability to connect different folks. Now, if you go way back in time, back to when I was really young in construction, what connected meant was literally, meeting face to face. There was really no other medium in order to ensure that information was flowing, smoothly. And so there was a lot of time and effort spent on getting people to the job site and job site meetings and job site walks and everything else. And then you see the advent of like the mobile devices, like mobile phones, and all of a sudden people can actually have a kind of a conversation virtually anywhere. But I would tell you from my vantage point, just the ability to connect through the internet, which changed every industry, was by far the biggest advent of kind of leveling the playing field and making the whole industry that much more efficient. Though we haven't really reached the high levels of efficiency that we think we could hit, I think that alone just got everybody onto the same playing field and allowed for kind of seamless exchange of information. And to me, so that's an evolutionary thing over time. It's taken 25, 30 years for this to really become ubiquitous. And but now it's basically the way the work gets done. So I would say the digital transformation, starting with mobile, going through the internet, is really the way I see it.
Love that. Terry, what do you think?
It's very similar to what Tui was saying. We're at the point now where behaviors are actually changing and people have confidence. I remember it took a while for people to believe that a construction site, as an example, would be paperless. Touch screens on the walls or touch screens built into the tables. But the minute you left that construction trailer or construction office, you became disconnected. And a lot of companies had a hard time investing in an iPad or handheld of some sort of device that would allow someone to go walk the site with confidence, have real-time up-to-date information, and use it. So now we're at the point where everyone is generally armed with a device. The other day at one of our sites, I saw a tradesperson laying out some drywall track and had his phone right in front of him, and he was spreading out the phone just to get the dimensions so that he could continue to do his work. That's where we are today now. We've gone from not believing the technology is going to be able to help us to absolutely depending on their devices to do their work in their day. So now, how long, does the battery last? How long, where is the available charging? How convenient or how reliable is the site intranet for people to take advantage of? So now everyone is sort of dependent on this technology and access to the web. It's all of a sudden become vital.
What Terry, what you just said is so true, which was in the early days of technology on a job site, technology was kind of a novelty, and it couldn't get out of its own way in a lot of cases. And so it wasn't an enabler, it was actually slowing people down. But now that technology has become an enabler, it's like any other tool. It doesn't matter if it's a electronic device or if it's a better, coil nailer for roofing. if the tool works and it enables you to do your job more efficiently, it will get adopted. And that is exactly where I see us today, which is where now it's moved from novelty into actually efficiency gaining technology.
And people are really counting on, if they're opening up a drawing, for example, they're off to a site, they're off to a certain floor, they open up the drawing of that floor, they're expecting that layout to be the absolute latest layout, coordinated. Someone else is worried about making sure that layer of drawing is the most up to date with all the RFIs answered, any of the changes made, so that they can just focus on getting their work built.
Yeah, you're right. And that's that kind of transformation where when technology was a novelty and got in your way, people would open it up, but then they wouldn't know if they could trust it. Right. But now, I think now that kind of paradigm shift has happened, and now you do rely on it. And you bring up kind of a dystopian, interesting concept, which is now that we are so reliant on technology in the job site, you have to have internet, you have to have high speed, you have to have connectivity. And if that goes away, where do you go?
Where do you go?
Hard to go backwards,
Yeah.
We've clearly come a really long way over the course of the last, 25 years in construction, and Procore has been around for 20 years. Terry, you've been, at this for 25 years, which is amazing, because I think you all have seen like a complete cycle. Yet it sort of feels like we're just getting started, which is also just absolutely, incredible and really exciting. But just all the way back, Terry, maybe you first. Where did you grow up, and what did you think you'd be when you grew up, and what was the sort of like arc of growing up and getting to the sort of place you are today?
I grew up in a suburb of Toronto. It's called Rexdale. I actually grew up in a condominium, and every day I'd look at this big monster tower and ask myself, how on earth did this thing get built? Just fascinated by the whole concept of this big, huge tower. And over time, got to know some people in the trades. I was always sort of, always had an entrepreneurial spirit, out there hustling, offering to paint people's houses to make a few bucks. That's how it was for me. And, early days, I thought I'd be a fireman growing up. I always loved seeing the action. Growing up in a condo, it was hardly a day went by where you didn't see a fire truck roll through. I thought those guys were awesome. And then as reality kicked in, I thought, you know what, I want to make it on my own, run my own business or start my own business. And that's eventually where I ended up, was the ability to run a business. But all through my career, I've always had a entrepreneurial lens as to, well, this is how it's being done now, but we can do it different. And let's try it out. Let's give it a shot. Starting a renewable energy company within a company. That's a huge success now. Running a modular factory and getting that off the ground. And, it really does take someone who sees clearly, someone who is determined in their vision and is willing to listen to other people and what they have to say. And if you can build sort of an army of believers around you, there's nothing that can really stop you.
So interesting that you were a builder in a literal sense for some of the biggest buildings in Canada, and yet you're really a company builder and an entrepreneur at heart. And that's something that Tui and I talk about often too. Just the feeling of being a builder, and you just can't really get away from it. But Tui, where'd you grow up, and tell us some of the experiences and realizations that shaped your career path along the way.
Well, grew up down in San Diego, California, and my dad was enamored with buying homes and fixing them up and flipping them back before it was actually a thing, I think, back in the 70s and 80s. And I too, just like Terry, so this is why I love this industry, is I am fascinated by people who are not satisfied with the status quo and are always looking for process improvements and to change the world through, incremental steps. And so I looked at all of the folks that my dad would employ and think to myself, like, I want to be like them. They're curious, they're inventive, they're like natural born mavericks, and they're kind of entrepreneurial in spirit. They're willing to just like kind of run through brick walls to get stuff done. And I just everything about those kind of the people that were in my life that I looked up to was like, gosh, when I grow up, I want to be like them. And so, yeah, so that was kind of, I was always enamored with that. I too was like I always tell the story about when I remember when I was a little kid, my mom used to get mad at me because we'd be walking down the street and I would dart across the street to a chain link fence to like grab onto it to look at the excavator digging a hole. And I was just like, how does this machine that weighs, more than, 9 automobiles operate? Like, how do they do this? So I've always been super curious. I always felt like I was, a builder kind of at heart. And I still build to this day. And yeah, so the people I love most are the people who build this world. And so for me, I joined this industry just because I want to be around that type of personality, just like Terry. I want to be around people like Terry, frankly.
Yeah. Just amazing how many parallels there are. But Tui, how did you go from, well, I think it's interesting for this audience, and I always think it's an amazing story, but how did you go from, looking over the chain link fence to, building and growing one of the biggest and fastest growing technology companies in the world?
Well, it started by letting my family down, by telling them instead of going into banking, which was really what the family business was, that I was going to be a carpenter. And I don't think they saw the career path progression that I was hoping to see. So, started off being a carpenter. I joined the local union and was a journeyman carpenter, and ended up in a weird way building some projects. I'm actually here in Palm Springs, California right now. And yesterday, my wife and I drove by 2 of the buildings that I built 30 years ago. And whenever I'm out here, I like to go by and just make sure that they're, still standing, which they are. And so, I was trying to be a developer. I was really confused in the development world as to how anything got done, because there was so little information when I was building these projects, little transparency. I had all this money at risk, but I had no visibility into where the risk lied, with schedules and budgets and everything else. And it was always a lot of hand waving, like, oh, trust me, they're pouring on Tuesday or whatever. And it was never like, this opacity was killing me. So decided I wanted to start a technology company to solve the opacity challenges in construction. And I thought the best way to do it is to build a platform to connect owners, GCs, and specialty contractors all on one solution. Unfortunately, I met you, Riggs, who helped short circuit a big part of that by bringing us the owners tool sets that we could do. So anyhow, dissatisfied with what it was to be a developer, decided I wanted to go and solve the problem. And I've been doing that for about 20 years now. So, and as I like to say, I feel like we're just getting started.
Tell us, or tell the group maybe in like just 1 to 2 sentences, because I think it's, important to get the lens of your thoughts, but how do you explain Procore in, 30 seconds to people who haven't heard about it?
So think about Procore as a software platform for construction. It's fully integrated and it's cloud-based. So there's no CD-ROMs or anything else installed. And it services the mission that Procore has to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. So you wouldn't have the ability to connect owners, GCs, and specialty contractors together if you weren't built as a platform. And so that's the whole point, is that we have this platform where we don't have solutions. We have over 250 partners who built on top of our platform to enable our customers to be more efficient in what they do. And so collectively, with our platform and our partners and our solutions, we are on this mission to connect everybody on the platform.
It's pretty incredible. And as I said at the beginning, I think it's interesting, the parallels to a ULI, which, for the last 50, 100 years. And Terry, I'm not sure exactly how many years ULI has been around, but I know it's been around for a long time. And I know the sort of founding principles were, how do we get people together to share knowledge, and sort of, in a way, not thinking about creating a technology platform, but how do we, learn from each other and connect and do things more effectively and more efficiently. And it's just very interesting, the parallels of bringing that fast forward to today and seeing what TUI's built on a global scale is just so cool.
That's why ULI is so excited about hosting this webcast and sharing the sort of the beginnings of great companies, where they are today and where they see themselves going in the future. And I've heard Tui say it a few times where, Procore is a construction solution, but I'm really starting to see it as a bigger solution other than construction. I'm really seeing it as a as a facilitation platform for people to jump on with relative ease and confidence, and then experience the wave of and the journey as they're going through their planning, their coordination with their consultants, all of the organizing that automatically happens in the platform. Yes, then you get to the fun part, which is construction, and then there's the handover at the end. And I think, you know, with so many people being inundated by technology and information, you know, what wave do you jump on, right? Where do you put that surfboard and jump on and go? And that's the one area I found with Procore, is that there's so many people willing with ease just to jump in and say, okay, I've heard some great things about this. Tell me more, show me. And what we're starting to see now, and I'd love to learn more, Tui, is, you know, you created a platform for people to all sort of be organized and centered. But now you said you have 250 companies that have built on your platform. Well, why did 250 companies choose to build on your platform? Why are they all in supporting you? What's in it for them? I'm really curious.
By the way, I love that you asked that question, because here's the thing you're not going to expect the CEO and founder of a company to say. It has nothing to do with Procore. The only reason they built on our platform is that they believe in the mission underneath the company, which is to be very open and connected. Because you know, if just from a cognitive standpoint, it makes sense that if you can get people to connect with one another more closely than they are in their standard way of operating, you're going to have a more efficient outcome. And so I don't think they think of themselves as building on the Procore platform, though that's what they're doing. What they're doing is that they're weaving together all of the different pieces that are involved in, to your point, from ideation of a project all the way through decommissioning of that asset. They're trying to bring everybody together in a central location, because the opposite, Terry, is it's chaos, right? It's if every little business process is done in some different way and people aren't communicating, you have massive inefficiencies. So I just think it's a group of like-minded people that believe in being connected and being open, and they believe in a single source of truth. And we're just fortunate enough to have built that foundation that they can build on top of.
So yeah, love that. Terry, I'm interested in your perspective, because it's like the other side of the coin, right? How is technology shaping the future of multiplex? And I know Procore is a part of that, but not everything. I'm just really interested to hear, like, is that also the way that you see it?
Well, Procore is a big part of it. I've been in the construction business a long time. I've been with companies where they try to create their own in-house version of a project management software, invested millions and millions of dollars, to say the least, to try and stay current or keep it fluid. But it really was an internal tool. It wasn't outward facing. It didn't invite people to come in and use the platform. And so when I had the good opportunity to work with Procore, it showed me the difference in what a collaboration tool can really mean. So we've as Multiplex, we've experienced different project management tools, if you will. And when we started to test out Procore in Canada, the reaction from our staff was incredible. They absolutely still love using the platform because it's so intuitive. Some of the platforms just keep you so organized, and it really helps you reduce the amount of steps and clicks you need to take every day, and the transparency that comes with it in terms of sharing a report with your supervisor, or sharing a report with the owners, or keeping the consultants all in line, really saves time in your day. So instead of adding all of these hours, imagine a project manager, coordinator trying to get all of this stuff organized and updated. Procore really helps people stay organized a lot faster. And now that gives them more time to focus on building rather than organizing in their day. So now that you have capacity open up for your people, you can start to take on other challenges. And what we like to call ourselves is a model-first construction company. So Revit, as an example, 3D models, we insist that when we start off a project, we work with an LOD 300 model. which we will then put into a schedule, which makes it a 4D schedule. And it allows us to really pick apart and understand how the job is going to come out of the ground, where we're sourcing our materials. All of those stakeholders involved get to see firsthand what next week is going to look like visually, what 6 months is going to look like visually, and it allows an alignment of real true collaboration and organization within the platform. Ultimately, when you hand a building to an owner virtually that has been built, represented in a LOD 400 or level of design 400 platform, now they're set up for what's called the digital twin. They're digital twin ready. You know, you just start to layer in things like assets, IoT, but the platform and the asset management handover is so much simpler through collaboration with Procore. So, you know, where we were once upon a time, or one day we will be, we're actually there now. And now this is where the real digital collaboration is starting to open up and find people time in their day. If it does anything, if it keeps people organized, they know they're clicking and opening the most recent drawing, and they don't have to worry about the source of truth, where that information is coming from. And then they can share their models with each other. That's phenomenal. We've shown owners other projects we're doing right now where we're able to open up that LOD 300 drawing with relative ease within Procore, and that owner didn't need Navisworks. That owner didn't need prescribed software. They could show them on the phone. So now they go off and tell two friends, look at my building. Look at where we're at with all of the coordination. The MEP is all coordinated structure. We've reduced all these clashes. And you have what I'd say not very savvy, technically driven owners pulling up their phones and showing everyone the model of the building with relative ease. And that's amazing.
You know what's interesting, Terry, and is that you just defined what we think we've seen coming for a long time, which is the silos of the way buildings get built, where it's like the design team hands it off to the pre-con team, and the pre-con hands it off to construction. The construction has a turnover team, and like all of that is now gone when you're dealing with a single source of truth, like a model like that, and everybody has to work so much more integrated. There's no more walls to toss anything over, but at the end you end up with such a more efficient process. I think what you just described obviously is what we see as the future, but I wonder, you know, how many people have actually got their head around that, because you all are doing it so well, but you're clearly I think ahead of a lot, which is really cool.
Yeah, our teams, once we ring the bell and it's time for a new project, the team can't wait to open up another Procore file, to be honest with you, because they know it's the beginning of something highly organized that they can trust, right?
Well, and when Procore got started, we were, the real ask is that we were doing construction project management, right? Which is such a finite period during the whole asset life cycle. And as what you just described has been happening is, there is no discrete function of just project management or, you know, pre-con or design coordination or whatever. It's all kind of one team working throughout this entire process where there aren't these hard jumps. So, so yeah, no, I'd love that you want to do it, that you love doing it in Procore, but it's actually what you all are doing is bigger than all of that, which is you're blurring the lines between, hey, that's not my job, and we're all in this together, from, you know, schematic design all the way through, you know, closeout.
So why did Honest Buildings fit so nicely into this platform?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, 20 years ago when I started, I was actually a frustrated real estate developer. I had done some contracting, but I really wanted to be a developer. So I knew that if you couldn't connect the owner and the GC and the specialty contractors together on one platform, this vision wasn't going to be found. It wasn't going to, you know, come true. And so I started by saying, okay, the hub of information was always, back in the day around a project, was through the general contractor, right? RFIs got issued from the specialty contractor to the GC. GC will push them up to the architect. They were the hub and spoke model of how information flowed. So we spent the better part of 20 years building out this workflow engine on a platform that allows contractors to manage all the collaboration between their specialty contractors and their owners. And we always intended to provide solutions for specialty contractors and owners. And when we we kind of embarked on that mission, and we had a sizable owners business at the time, but nothing nearly as big as Honest. Riggs and I had met, and Riggs and I always joke about this, but we were literally separated at birth, because I think we both set out to solve the same problem from different orientations. I set out from a general contractor's perspective. He set out from an owner's perspective. And when we had the chance to spend time together, it was just like, this has to come together. This merger has got to take place, because he and his team had such deep knowledge around what the owners wanted. And we had such deep knowledge around what the general contractor community needed and used, as well as some of the specialty contractors, that we thought, if we pushed all this together, we can accelerate our timeline of bringing everyone together. And we haven't looked back.
Yeah, and from my perspective, accelerate the impact for the industry. Like Terry, you laid it out perfectly. But when your clients, your customers, your owners that you're working with say, we want to see the model on our phone, like they do want to see that, but they also want to see way more, right? They want to be able to connect instantaneously with the project, and that's really tough, right? That is really tough without a platform that can come together and really bring all of these disparate stakeholders together in a unified way that's easy to use and is available on the phone. And so I was sort of looking at it from the owner side, being like, how can we get more information? And a lot of the owners started to ask, can we get information from Procore? And that's when Tui and I sort of said, like, wow, what if you really could, right? Maybe you could actually accelerate the whole industry by allowing people to use great software that feels like it's purpose built for them, but it's actually connected to all the other pieces of their project. And if you could do that, I think that's a pretty impactful thing for the whole built world, which is why it's so exciting to me. And I just feel like we've really accelerated the value that we can create, not only for great general contractors, specialty contractors, and owners, but really almost like society, through enabling people to build better.
How long have you been connected as Honest Buildings and Procore? How long has that happened?
About a year and a half.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what have you realized or discovered in the marriage? Are you going faster than you anticipated? Are you solving problems you never thought you'd solve? Like, tell me, what did you learn in this connection that you never imagined?
You're probably going to get a little bit of a different flavor from both of us, but I'll tell you this, that before we actually brought the two companies together, Riggs and I spent a lot of time talking to large owners. And what we realized was, though this kind of mission that we're on to connect everybody is important, what's really important after you connect people is that you deliver value to the stakeholders. Sure. And the primary value that Riggs and I were trying to derive was, everyone's keeping their own ledgers. Everyone knows what a yard of concrete is going to cost them, right? But nobody's using that collective wisdom of a million projects and thousands of, daily active users or whatever else to help inform all the different stakeholders around how to run more efficient businesses. So, Riggs and I embarked on this saying that, okay, table stakes are, we have to connect everybody, because that's where the magic happens. But in reality, where the real magic happens is once we can allow insights to be derived from that data for all the different stakeholders to ensure that they're running efficient, safe, productive jobs. And so I would say what I get most excited about is we are on that journey right now of unlocking all of that truth. And that's going probably faster than I had originally estimated. So Riggs, what do you say?
Yeah, I would say two things, three things. One, I agree with all that. Two, I think the opportunity is actually bigger than at least I thought, but I don't want to speak for you, but I think maybe that we thought, because now people are starting to see that vision, this vision, Terry, that, you're sort of also seeing about how it's really a differentiator, and owners are starting to ask for that data and access. That's not just a problem in Toronto or New York City or Boston or Chicago. That is literally a global problem. That is a systemic problem in our industry, and there's $10 trillion a year in construction. So it is, I think, bigger and actually more exciting than I think we thought. At least I thought, maybe 18 months ago, and that is super compelling. But for me, with different lens, the most successful thing I think is the people and the culture combination. And I think that one of the things that Tui and I recognized very early on is for two companies to come together, as cliche as it sounds, like you really do have to have, it is a marriage. You have to have people who really can meld, and they need to care about each other, and they need to care about the mission and the vision and the values of the thing that you're creating, because it is two living, breathing objects, you know, coming together, and they need to work together. And I think that most mergers fail because of that. I think that that's widely acknowledged. It is a culture problem. And I think that has been actually more successful than I think we thought also. I feel like we thought it was going to be good, but you don't know until, you know, you push them together. And we've had very, very little turnover. And I mean, arguably, I think that people are even more excited now than they were 18 months ago, which, you know, through a global pandemic, that's pretty incredible.
So with the blending of two great cultures coming together and reestablishing a culture, inevitably there's going to be ideas. People are passionate about certain things. Tui, how do you, as a CEO, how do you handle innovation in your company?
Such a great question. And by the way, there's no real short answer in this, but the best way I like to say it, Terry, is that we push it down to the lowest node, the people closest to our customers, the people that are closest to the challenges. As you know, as you look at the technology footprint that most companies have deployed over the last 10, 15 years, there's some that are very specific, and there's some that are very, you know, you have a very specific knowledge set around. So what we believe is that there's no leader at Procore who has all the answers. What we believe is that there's folks who are very close to the customers or have come from industry and now work at Procore and know everything that they, you know, could ever want to know about BIM or digital twins in particular, or whatever aspect. And then we hire great people with that knowledge, and we empower the hell out of them to drive those kind of initiatives forward. But it's kind of messy because you have lots of people and you have lots of different ideas. But what we do have is we have a common mission, and we prioritize just relentlessly. We have frameworks that we use in order to decide what comes next based on a lot of inputs. And so we have a framework that we run all innovation through that makes sure that the next highest ROI for a customer is built before something really cool and neat is built. And it's hard. It takes discipline to do that. But when you look at when we go in and we talk to a new prospect, or if I'm just talking to somebody that's in the industry that's not software related, but they're actually building something, I'm always shocked by the footprint that they have of all these different pieces of technology that they bought along the way and how complicated their lives are. And so our goal is to reduce that footprint as much as possible to make sense out of it. And so it makes it pretty easy to prioritize which innovations come next, because there's just so many opportunities. But I will say the list is long, Terry. There's, the number of areas that Procore could get distracted with that have lower ROI than the main ones, really is kind of endless. So it takes a lot of discipline. But I'd be curious in Multiplex, like, what does your digital footprint look like? I mean, how many different applications and point solutions do you think you're running at any given time? Is it quantifiable? Do you kind of have any numbers off the top of your head?
We're actually constantly looking at the application of digital and what makes the most sense and what's the most integrated. So security has obviously become a very big deal for us. Cloud support, we're moving full on into the Azure cloud. And, that's sort of been the North Star for us as we move forward as an organization. In Canada, we're trying to keep it a little simpler. Project management, we're using Procore. Where we can federate a model and be model first, we absolutely do it. And try and minimize the amount of software applications we're actually looking at right now. But we're in ourselves trying to launch an innovation platform very similar to what you've been saying, as to there's a lot of great ideas out there, but what offers the best return on investment? So it's a very agile approach to using it for innovation towards construction. And it really is about harnessing the ideas of the people, making sure that they're not, that they feel like they've been listened to, Also, it's really important to be transparent with the ideas that are flowing in, and almost give people an opportunity to vote on what they think is maybe the groundbreaking idea. May not be, the leadership that has the right vision or the right choice. It might be a groundswell of your people that raise their hand and say, that's the idea we need to solve. That's the one we want to bring to the table. And when you can bring collectively everybody together, all of a sudden now they're all rowing in the same direction. So
Yeah.
I really believe that innovation and culture go hand in hand.
By the way, you're right. When you can get that alignment, you get a force of nature that is just unstoppable, right? Like we see it all the time. When the field wants to adopt a technology, it doesn't matter what management says. If they're saying no, you're going to use this, the field will win because that level of engagement from the people that actually have to get the work done is it's unstoppable. Frankly, it's a force of nature. But when you think about adopting technology, do you think like platform first, or because I know there's a lot of solutions in the marketplace that are either point solutions or they're old legacy technology that some people have a bias towards because it's what they were used to using. Do you ever have to fight that fight internally, which is like, look, if the data is not in some sort of a single source of truth, it doesn't help us. So therefore, though you love this technology, we're not going to endorse it. Do you have those decisions?
Yeah, we have those challenges that every big company does, I think. The one thing I could say about Multiplex is that we have a very strong CIO and understands that sometimes regionally there may be a solution that works best for you. So they'll, cut bait with it globally and allow you to run with it more locally, right? We, as an example, we use Salesforce quite a bit in the Canadian region. We have our own Canadian licenses. We're doing what we need to do. And if we have to share information on a client basis, we can manage that in a different way. So sometimes it does mean being nimble.
But I'm sure, so Salesforce is a relatively easy choice because it's an open platform. But I know we run into situations where some folks like some old technology or some non-open technology. And I know that can be a challenge for management where you're trying to say, though I know you know how to use that technology, it's not open, it's not connected, I can't derive insights from it. And so you have to have difficult conversations with your employees.
We have a couple legacy systems that were derived from, the originating country of Australia. And, we need to manage through those.
Yeah. Driving change is never easy, right? Getting people to adopt new things and to change the status quo is never easy. But yeah, these are the challenges of management at any size company, I would say.
How has COVID-19 and the pandemic that we've seen changed, work for you, Terry, and then also for you, Tui? Like, what's happened over the course of the next 9 months, the last 9 months?
I would say that COVID-19 created what I call a technology boot camp. And it forced people who were on the periphery to start using technology, taking it seriously and counting on it as an absolute lifeline. Whereas without a lot of the Zooms or the Microsoft Teams or all the different platforms we've been using to share and communicate, may not necessarily have had full traction across the board. The pendulum through COVID almost swung too far the other way. And I think a lot of people now believe in the technology, and a lot of people can work remotely and still achieve many great things without having to be face to face.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Tui, what you I mean, through Procore, I think there's 10,000 different folks that are, different companies that are using Procore in various different places and areas. But aside from Procore ourselves, like what do you, and you work with so many of the different leaders across the GCs, trades, owners, what have you seen through COVID in terms of technology use in our industry?
I want to address that, but I think what Terry said is so important to recognize, which was when this all happened, March timeframe, when people really got aware of this, the best companies, and obviously Multiplex is one of them, did two things. One was they looked internally and said, what do we need to do to ensure that our teams have everything they need to be successful, safe, and we can survive as a company. And then secondly, they looked to how do I work differently with our customers today in order to deliver on the all brand new needs of what it means to be in a pandemic and deliver best in class solutions and products to our customers. And that's what the best companies did. And obviously it sounds like, Terry said it well, that they did it well. From our vantage point, we did the same thing. Obviously we're building software and not buildings, but from our vantage point, the first thing we did is looked at the business, made sure the people were safe, made sure we had everything in place to make sure that we could go remote. We did so in a 24-hour period, sent 2,000 people home with their laptops and desk chairs and lamps and whatever else they needed to be productive. Got everybody home, stable, safe, connected. And then we looked to our customers and said, what do we need to do? And what we didn't anticipate was, look, we were in the midst of, the globe was in the midst of a digital transformation in construction. That's irrefutable. Everyone knows that, right? We were going from analog to digital. It was going at a really rapid pace. And what we've seen is since then is that just an acceleration of that pace. I think, Nadia Nadella at Microsoft said it well, that we saw like a decade's worth of digital transformation happen like overnight. And so we didn't really see that coming, but the fact that people had to work remote and had to work with remote teams, not only on projects, but from a G&A perspective in the construction world, just meant that these platforms were absolutely critical to support remote workforces. So, it's been an amazing acceleration of this digital transformation that frankly we didn't see coming.
And Terry, I think you sort of said that too, that you saw this sort of acceleration to technology. And we started out talking about technology in the AEC industry and how it's morphed just with the advent of Wi-Fi all the way through the pandemic, which, and I agree with both of what you've said. It's almost just accelerated people's roadmaps from 10 years down to like the last 6 months, and which to me feels like a turning point. So now, my question for both of you is like, what's the future look like? What's the next 3 to 5 years look like, where you can kind of, squint and see it? And then what's the tech in the AEC construction industry look like in 15 years?
Well, I would say, you enlightened me on a separate call once, Riggs, where you talked about the amount of dollars that were flowing through a developer in construction through your platform, and that owner wasn't really quite aware of what that was. And we're talking billions and billions of dollars flowed through Procore, and the owner was unaware that all of this money was being tracked through Procore and all the data was available. And so I really challenge, everyone, what is a data strategy that they have, be it an architect, be it an engineer, be it an owner. All of these tools are readily available. People are trusting in these tools, but I don't think they're actually tapping into the data and understanding the value that's been created there, right? There's this whole underworld right now of value being created that no one's really tapped into yet. So, let's start to explore what that means. What does that crystal ball tell you, right? Let's start looking at this data. What does it start to reveal? And then how does that make us a better owner, a better developer, a better builder? You look at Tesla, real simple example. Everybody looks at them as an amazing car builder. They build carbon-free drives, right? Awesome car, get in. You don't have to worry about leaving a carbon footprint. But really, the value they have created is understanding the behavior of their drivers and all that goes with it and all the data that they're generating. And now, all of a sudden, when Tesla really starts to tap in and drill down into that, what does that tell them and their future? Well, now, let's put that into the built environment. What does that mean for a building owner? All the data that's being aggregated in one building is amazing. Imagine a portfolio of buildings and the people behavior that's going on in, maybe the onset of development, design as their commonality, and then ultimately through construction. Are there commonalities? Are there certain things that they can be doing collectively to make them smarter? What about embodied carbon decisions? I don't think anybody's measuring that to its full potential right now, but it's there. The data's there, the decision point is there. You just have to show somebody, you go mass timber instead of concrete. What does that mean for your building? What does it mean for the occupants, and how happy are they at the end of the day? And so this information is upon us right now. We're just not drilling into it. So why not find a way to start drilling into it? And even if, I don't know if you call them data scientists, but you need somebody who's sort of off the beaten path, who's not in the day-to-day, who can start to drill down in some of the data and what does that reveal. So that's where I see the next sort of 3 to 5 years is this discovery in data and what it's going to start to tell people and how they can shift their decisions.
Boy, there's a lot there. Let me go with the obvious first, which is, before we look forward, let me look back a little bit and say that, it was 5-7 years ago where we would walk into a prospective customer and they'd be like, we don't trust the cloud, right? So like they wouldn't even want to put stuff in the cloud. And I'm like, okay, that's behind us now, right? That's an argument that doesn't have to exist. And then we went through this whole thing where, well, my field teams and I trust my teams to deploy whatever software they feel necessary in order to get the job done. And then the CIOs would look at this and they'd be like, I have 9,000 applications that that aren't connected. That's just a spaghetti of just disaster. And so they started moving towards platform technology in the cloud. And so I think that's kind of where we are today, which is the undeniable power of having a single source of truth, a platform that you can build upon. And that's where I think we find ourselves today. And then when you look forward, Terry's 1,000% right, which is table stakes are now platform. It's having access to data. It's having your teams be connected and working off the right set of information at the right time. It's getting your people to the right place at the right time. It's driving efficiencies through communication, collaboration, and data access into every aspect of the built world is going to be big. And then beyond that, it's when you do have this single source of truth, how, the decisions that you can make, the fidelity and the quality of the decisions that you make as a business leader, you're going to look back on today and you're going to be like, I can't believe I made decisions of this magnitude with this little information, right? So the access to that information is going to change the way we do business. And frankly, it's going to disintermediate several different folks in the way, because a lot of the construction industry, a lot of the built world is built off of opacity and lack of information. And once we create true transparency and get everybody working off the same set of information, the efficiencies are just going to become enormous. And it's exciting. And then, I love the concept of, you have an idea for a building, that building eventually gets built. And then you have this digital twin as the owner, which you own as for the rest of your life, that's constantly being updated with the most relevant information. And then you throw in all of the, whiz bang stuff of the, Internet of Things. So you're getting relative information real time from the systems. And then I do want to say one other thing, which you talked about machine learning, Terry, which is it's not always just about the data. It's about the metadata that goes along with the data. Like, for instance, some of our data scientists at Procore have been able to put together correlations with the way that submittal logs are generated on construction sites, the wording, the capitalization frequency to a schedule delay or budget overrun. Because what I think the hypothesis is, when you look at that through machine learning, you can say somebody's working very quickly and they're making lots of mistakes grammatically, which might indicate that they're running a sloppy job and might indicate a predecessor or a precursor to a budget overrun or a schedule overrun. It's that level of like magic that happens when you have a single source of truth, where you can not only look at the data, but look at the metadata that goes along with it to just run better jobs. And that's what I find really exciting.
Wow.
Terry, you agree?
Oh, listen,
Can we get there?
Tui has a, oh, we can absolutely get there. But, you know, just hearing that story from Tui, I didn't even, you know, I didn't understand that you already have people looking at it from that lens, you know, really high level. What's the correlation? How do you develop all of these understandings of behavior of people that transcend into something that's going to tell you, hey, you're about to head off the tracks with this project.
Yeah.
Right.
What, Terry?
Yeah.
Terry, what would you say to listeners, fellow, you know, your peers in the GC space, construction management, and then also owners, you know, whether they're big giant owners or smaller owners and developers that are, you know, ULI members sort of looking for what's next? What would you say to them about digital strategies? Like, what's your advice on how to create a digital strategy? What should they be thinking about and planning for?
I think with a lot of them, even designers, is don't think it's so big that you're afraid to start something. If you have the opportunity to jump on a project that is using a platform, a collaborative tool like Procore, go all in, try it, use it, learn it. What's the best application for you, your company, the relationship you can create with your owner or the builder? And same with developers. I think a lot of developers are very, very focused on getting their approvals or getting that ability to get that project started. And then usually when they are ready to get the project started, they feel like they're behind the 8 ball, that they're way late. They don't have time for anything else. They just want to get this thing started as fast as humanly possible, right? And sometimes it's just a matter of, well, let's slow down here. Let's understand what technology is available, how it can keep me organized, and actually bring me an advantage. Somebody help me understand this, and just ask the right questions.
Yeah, I
right?
love that. Tui, you've said in the past, and which I completely agree with, that it still feels like we're at the beginning, like we're sort of just getting started, even after 18 years. So I'm interested in what's next for, you know, this industry, what's next for Procore, and what drives you to just sort of like keep going in such a big monumental industry shift that's happening.
Well, I think it would be unseemly to have a founder who is satisfied with where they were. So I'm never going to be that person, as you know, being a founder yourself. I would. So the reason I feel like we're day one is, like I said, if you kind of say, where are we now? When they look back on, you know, this day in history, what are they going to say about where we were in the digital transformation? We're going to say, look, adoption of technology has been ubiquitous. The realization that a platform solution that's open is the right partner to be partnered with. But now we have to capitalize on the value of the connected experience, the value of making sure that people are all working off the same set of information. Look at the impact in Procore rigs with just a Google Doc, right? The fact that you and I can work on a single sheet of music, right? A single document in real time and generate the outcome that we're looking for, as opposed to the old days of sending version controls back and forth and all of that. Those levels of improvement in the construction industry, when you get everybody working off the same set of information and connected, and connecting those really complicated workflows that cause so many delays in construction. Once we start moving down that road, then I'm going to feel like, okay, we're on the path to this next place. But remember, the next place is data. It's the, you know, it's predictive. It's all of the things that having access to rich, structured data is going to allow you to do. You know, I always say the 2 pillars in construction are time and money, schedule and budgets, right? Of course, safety is the 3rd pillar. But once you can support those pillars on a foundation of solid data that's anonymized, that you can gather from varied like projects that you're building elsewhere. A story came up the other day about, so we just bought a company called Esticom, which is estimating. And one of the things that we keep talking about to both owners and GCs and specialty contractors are, as you're building a budget out, as you're building an estimate out for a hospital, let's say, if you leave a line item out because your pre-construction person got distracted, Wouldn't it be nice if the system popped up and said, you're building a hospital and you just left cost code so-and-so out because we have 9,000 other hospitals that are like this, and every single one of them have this cost code. Don't make this mistake. It's that level of like tactical advantage that technology that's structured in a connected environment gives anybody involved in the process. That's just going to make this a much more efficient overall industry. And that's kind of where I get excited.
I completely agree. I think it's also just going to be so impactful for the way that things get built and the future of the built world. So every day it just feels incredibly empowering and exciting for all of us. Well, maybe to sort of wrap up in closing, Terry, maybe you first, but what are your sort of thoughts on the opportunity for our industry? And, do we have the right technologies today? Is there anything missing? And, do you think now is the right time to leverage the technology that we have? Just overall, like, what are your thoughts on technology in our space?
Well, first of all, I can't wait to get my hands on this estimating bolt-on that Tui's talking about. That's going to be tremendous. I honestly think that over the next 3 years, it'd be absolutely wonderful to be able to organize strategic procurement through a platform similar to what Procore has. Having direct access to multiple vendors globally, so that you know exactly what you're buying, delivery times, cost, what's the problem they're solving, and being able to sort of gain access to this the supply chain far easier than we do now. I'd say we've come a long way in being able to organize a model first digital application of how we're going to build the building. But still, as we procure in construction, it still feels very old school. You can, once these companies who are out there, suppliers, installers, they start to put themselves out there in a digital way where you can start to understand their capacity, understand their abilities, understand what problems they can solve for you en masse, I think will be a game changer for construction.
Love that. Tui, final thoughts?
Well, I guess we've talked a lot about connected, and I think exactly with what Terry just said, that you get all of that if you have structured data in a single source of truth. And it doesn't have to be Procore. It just has to be a system somewhere where you can get access to that information. And that's where the efficiencies are going to come from. I think the thing that we don't talk about enough is as we drive this digital transformation into this industry, and it's happening, I believe we're going to be able to attract the best and the brightest from all industries that are going to want to join this industry that for so long has been kind of plagued with the it hasn't had the hallmark of the place where the top graduates from the top universities want to go. The challenges in construction are so big and so great that when we start applying real technology to solve for these challenges, that I think we're going to be able to attract more great people to this industry. And because ultimately it's always about the people in my mind. So how do we keep that? We need to not only solve the problems, we need to tell the world that we're solving those problems to be able to attract the talent to come in and help drive this industry forward. We've come so far, and I think it's the rest of the journey is going to be driven on the backs of really, really great, innovative folks. And so I guess I get excited about what we can do to attract more and more people into this industry.
I love that. Well, to me, it feels like both of you are leading the charge in terms of laying out that vision and also executing behind it, which I know in a smaller scale, how hard it is to both have a vision and execute. So just wanted to say thank you both for being industry pioneers and leading the charge and bringing these two pieces together. It's super exciting, and I'm inspired by it.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Terry for inviting me to do this. I always value time with you, Terry, and we kind of are birds of a feather, so I really do appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity. And Riggs, thank you for being the moderator, and really thanks to ULI for the opportunity to be here today to share my thoughts.
I think those who are going to take the time to watch this are really going to be left with incredible insight. Tui, thank you so much. you know, it takes time out of your day to get ready and get your head around something like this and prepare and share. And Riggs, thank you very much. Asked the great questions, kept it flowing. And I really enjoyed spending the time with both of you today. So thank you very much.